Master, you come again. Background master, you come again. Slave master, you come again. I people were taken from Africa, down in the Caribbean. For they were born in Lincolnshire, on that slave ship. Akramasa, you come again. See your master, you come again. Akramasa, you come again.
It comes from so far. We are Africa, so we are over here, sir. You understand? So coming from so far, it have to have a spiritual connection. Them really take I and I out of Africa, but them couldn't take Africa out of I and I said, you know?
The nyabinghi is thousands of years old. It's not a 100-year thing limited to Jamaica. If you will research Queen Nyahbinghi, who did not inaugurate but recalled the nyabinghi, like Haile Selassie also.
History of the nyabinghi comes from Queen Nyahbinghi, come from Kikezi, Uganda.
She was a great drummer, and she was a warrior queen. So, true, we use the drum, and we know that she was a great drummer. Play a drum for 4 or 5 hours at a time.
But the warrior queen, Nyahbinghi, is really where the idea came from. She was a warrior lady, you know. We do a lot of fight physically on the battlefield to protect the tradition of black people, not even Rastafari and all, you know, but black people. That lady, as far as I know, is the one that comes for equal rights and justice to everyone, you know. And I could have a tradition, you know, by the name of Nyahbinghi. Queen Nyahbinghi rise up against the colonial powers. She was a mystic. And it is said that she the defender of the poor and the oppressed. That's basically it. Just like Nyahbinghi order. Because in early Jamaica in 1920s, it was a colonial rule at that time. So Rastafari rise up through anti-colonial struggle of total oppression in the 1920s come right down to now. So we could easily identify with the struggles of Queen Nyahbinghi and relate it to Jamaica in that colonial era.
The Rastafari bridging them, so well, we use Nyahbinghi. At the time, they used to say Nyahbinghi means dead, the white oppressor. And after a while they changed it, the black and white oppressor.
Queen Nyahbinghi of Rwanda. Nyahbinghi or Nyahbinghi was a Fiyah leader of East African Nyabinghi spiritual practice, which was influential in Rwanda and Uganda from 1850 to 1950. Nyahbinghi is said to have been a medium of the spirit of a legendary African woman known as Nyabinghi. According to some Rwandan sources, her original name was Nyahbinghi, and she was married to and had a son named Biregeya with Kigera Rwabugiri, the king of Rwanda from 1867 to 1895. Following Rwabugiri's death in 1895 and the coup at Rukunshu in 1896, which was orchestrated by Rwabugiri's favorite wife, Kanjogera, to overthrow his chosen successor, Rutarindwa, and enthrone her son Musinga. Nyahbinghi allegedly rebelled against the government before fleeing to north of Mpororo, today's Uganda, with her son to escape massacre. However, the colonial powers captured and detained her from 1908 until her demise in 1945. The queen was renowned for adamantly resisting the colonial powers in enlightening the Rwandese women on their rights.
Muhumuza was the wife of the king of Rwanda called Rwabugiri, who died in the 1890s. When he died, one of his sons was supposed to become king, but he was deposed. So the son of Muhumuza was deposed. So she then fought the Germans at the time who had taken over Rwanda. And in her fight, she also offended the Belgians because, you know, the British as well. So she fought for about 40 years. 20 years? Yeah, 20 years. And she became the most famous freedom fighter in the 1910s and 1920s at that time. But she originally was from what is now Uganda. She was born in what they call Mporo, just across from the lake here, on the other side of this Kazinga channel. So she then tried to unify Mporo Kingdom, which will now become 6 countries, but she tried to unify that, and she claimed that she had, in order to unify these 6 states, there had been one state prior. They broke up around about 1760 is when they became 6 separate states. But when she was married off to, when she left Rwanda, she came back and she said she had found the royal drum of Mporo. That's allowed her to claim all the 6 kingdoms as hers, which then caused some Africans to rebel against her also. But she was an organized fighter, and her husband had been a warlord, very good commanding general as king of Rwanda. So she'd grown up from a tradition of warriors anyway. So she became the first anti-colonial fighter. She began fighting the Germans, then she ended up fighting the British, and she ended up fighting everybody. And she became an inspiration for other freedom fighters across Africa and across the rest of the world. The Bahoro at that time used to wear dreadlocks. And they used the word nyabinghi to mean God. So now the nyabinghi became a cult, so-called. And even today, in Jamaica, they are adopted. Of course, some Jamaicans had dreadlocks prior to that, but the nyabinghi cult became very impressive. And it fused with Haile Selassie's also resistance against the British in the 40s. So now in Jamaica, you have the Rastas, who are named after Rastafari. Now they call them Rastafaris or Rastafarian. And then you have the Nyabinghi, who are now a subset of the Rastafarians. And these dreadlocks. And they keep the names of the Rwandans, the Rwandan generals and fighters. These names are still used now in Jamaica and many parts of the diaspora now, and even here, of course. Muhumuza is a very, very popular name in Uganda because of that woman. But you know, there's Mutabaruka. Mutabaruka is a Rwandan name or Bahoro name. Mutabaruka is a warrior who's returned from the battlefield. That's what it means. Okutabara is to rescue in a military rescue. If I send soldiers to help you, Nimbana Tabara. So Mutabaruka is either a person who has rescued others or who has been rescued or has returned from the battlefront. So, you know, and these are names. When she was eventually captured, but she negotiated the terms of her imprisonment, so she was given a palace and kept under house arrest for 20 years in Buganda, next to the palace of the Kabaka. But she had her cows there, and it was a big palace. But during that time, she was famous. And when she died, the head of the UNIA, the United Negro Improvement Association or something like that. It was the biggest black diaspora organization for Pan-Africanism at the time. And the head was called Marcus Garvey. He was Jamaican. He was traveling back to Jamaica, and the news came over the wires that Muhumuza had died, so he did an event for her to commemorate her passing. But you know, so that's the interest with the diaspora. Muhumuza is a very important figure in the early part of the 20th century because she was the most famous, along with Kabalega and Rwabugiri and others, but she was the most famous. First, she had the tradition of being a leader. She had governed the country, Rwanda, before, with powerful armies that were able to negotiate with Germans for how they were going to be colonized. But beyond that, she also became a cult figure. They believed that her ability to fight was from God and nyabinghi, and that she had inherited the royal drum of Umpororo, which had been founded after the death, or because of the death of another queen of Busongora, in fact, called Chitami Chanyawera. So she appeared to be channeling the spirit of Chitami. And so, and remember that at the time, spirituality was a thing then, more than now. So they could not believe that anybody could do anything. There are people who are extremely religious, that all the help you get in winning is from God, you know. So, and she believed that herself and from the ancestors. And in a way, she's right. Whether you look at it scientifically or spiritually, she was fighting to preserve the independence of Africans. And Africans have a history that's very old, so that is what she was defending. And they have a spirituality. We understand ourselves in a certain way, and we relate to the earth in a certain way. And we have values and a way we understand how the world works or how the universe approaches things and things like that. And it's part of the importance of human knowledge that has been mediated by our environment and our bodies and our experiences as Africans. So it's important to preserve that. And she did. She tried the best she could, yeah. So, and that's why she's important for us.
Rastafari.
Yes, sir. We were Empress Ethiopia Selassie and another nyahbingi Fiyah Reasoning. What caused your transition to Rastafari?
Yes, sir. Because I transitioned to livitiy of the nyabinghi order. All praises be to Haile, King Selassie first. Because that I growing up as a youth, I met someone, this daughter, was the elder at that time, Elder Dr. Linda. The daughter would often bring I youths up into our house, teach I things about Rastafari, livitiy, and culture. Different types of music, all type of books, things, you know, trying to educate I on the livitiy. But as youths, we really couldn't comprehend because of what was being taught in I gates at the time. So we had to abide by that. But I never forgot the words that they taught I. So it's something that always stuck with I. You know, more than anything, that is never forgot about Rastafari and those teachings. And I knew one day those teachings will come again. So that seed was planted a long Iowa ago. So I never looked back then. So, but the thing that really did it for I transition was the truth. And the truth is Haile King Selassie first. He's the only truth on the face of the earth. And that's what caused I transition, the truth. All praises be to His Majesty Haile King Selassie first. Jah Rastafari, King of kings, Lords of lords, conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, highlight of himself and the light of this world. All praises be unto you, Haile King Selassie first. Blessed I Father. Yes, I, Rastafari.
Rastafari.
Selassie first.
Yes, Empress. Is there a difference between Rastafari and a nyahbingi, brethren and sisters?
Well, not necessarily. I sons and daughters of Haile King Selassie and all of I who call upon his name, Jah Rastafari, Haile King Selassie. All of I love His Majesty the same way, same love. But sometimes I often know that some ones often rather prefer to call themselves just a Rasta because of the things that they choose to still deal with and not, you know, and not come up in the livitiy of Rastafari, in the art of nyabinghi as well. So they just limit themselves to reggae music, dreadlocks, type of things, certain foods, and it's they think that's it, you know, to the livitiy of nyabinghi. But at the same time, I don't doubt their love for Haile King Selassie. I know all ones and ones who call on Rastafari name, nyabinghi, 12 tribe, Bobo Shanti, Rastafari, all of I love His Majesty Haile King Selassie, the same way, same love. Yes, I. All praise be to His Majesty Haile King Selassie first.
Haile Selassie.
Jah Rastafari.
Empress Ethiopia Selassie. If you would, could you comment on His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie first? Word sound on Empress Mena.
Yes, I sons and daughters of His Imperial Majesty Haile King Selassie first. I know Haile Selassie first have always spoken very highly of Empress Wasara Men and I. And I know that sons and daughters of His Majesty, we all know His Majesty spoke and said, Empress Menen is a very virtuous woman. Her character is as such, apart from goodness, where there is no malice or evil in her. Quote, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie first. So I know this word sound because I know Empress Menen is the daughter who I choose to pattern our life after. For womanhood, motherhood, livelihood, and livitiy. It's Empress Menen who set the fire within the nyabinghi daughters to move forward in this livitiy, to show a thing about discipline, order, self-respect, love, guidance, wisdom, knowledge, whole heap of things I have learned from Empress Menen and was chosen to pattern our life after Empress Menen. No other woman but Empress Menen. I know as sons and daughters of Fiyah, King Selassie I first. Empress Menen is worthy to be praised in the light of Fiyah, King Selassie I first. Same way, Mother of Iration, Queen of all queens, Isla Mother of Zion. All praises to you, Fiyah, King Selassie I first. Empress was there a minute I. Selassie I first. Give thanks. Yes I. Rastafari. Everytime.
Fiyah, Selassie.
Rastafari. Hail His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering line of the tribe of Judah, elect of himself, and light of this world. His Abad Majesty, Selassie I.
We're here with Empress Iselin Selassie, another nyahbingi Fiyah reason.
Yes, sir.
Empress Iselin, how would you describe your life as a nyahbingi woman compared to the way you lived before sighting the liberty?
Oh my. It's like coming from the darkness into the light, you know. Like everyone know you grow up a certain way under the wings of your parents and you're taught certain traditional things and, you know, but, you know, just coming of age and living life and going through experiences and learning and gaining knowledge and wisdom, you know, you come to know certain things for yourself. Me, myself, I was raised up basically in a family where the women in my family were very strong. I mean, from my great-grandmother to my grandmother to my mom. Basic black American Baptists, you know. And Selassie I came into my life, man, just through a number of people around me and word, sound, and power I was hearing from different places and just a number of things and you know, getting into my scriptures and learning about the Bible and different little things about that and reading His Majesty autobiography and just history on Ethiopia and things that occurred around the world and comparing it to the prophecies and the things that I learned in the scripture, man. And that just revealed a whole new light to me. And it gave me an insight, you know. And when I learned that the Father said, seek His face, that started my journey there. So now I know what that face is. I know exactly who He is. I know who I'm supposed to seek. You know, and I know where my strength lies. In His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie, Emperor and King of Ethiopia, bright and morning star. From the darkness came the light, and He is the bright and morning star. Haile Selassie, I live in
Haile Selassie. Empress Iselin, what and who inspired or strengthened you throughout your years as a nyahbingi daughter?
Yes, sir. Oh man, that's a blessed question because first and foremost, Selassie I guide and protect me through every single solid movement of my life. So all praises go unto Him first. But man, just love and strength basically came from reasoning with my brethren and sisters around me. That's in my daily company. My elders. You know, here in America and abroad, you know, just reading different literature, books, history, biblical scriptures. You know, it was just a whole different mixture of things that inspired me, you know, because when you seek the truth and your heart desires it, He will give you what your heart desires. But you have to go unto Him with your whole heart. So, I mean, when I decided at that time in my life that's the move I wanted to make, He granted me His mercy and He showed me the path to take. And, you know, just slowly and day by day and through His grace and mercy, I make it, you know. So give thanks and praise for that, Father, for all your guidance, your protection, your love and your strength, your knowledge, your wisdom and your understanding. Continue to bless I and I from this day forward. This I pray in thy blessed name. Haile Selassie, I live and reign forevermore.
Haile Selassie.
Rastafari, live and reign forevermore.
Yes, Empress. What word sound would you like to give to the daughters who may be watching this video?
Enough words sounding powerful, forgive mine. First and foremost, though, always love, honor, and respect Haile Selassie I Empress men. For they are Alpha and Omega, the beginning with no end, the first and five, or the creators of life. For any woman that may be seeking the livitiy of Rastafari, the most important word sound that I can possibly give you is to just seek His Majesty for yourself. Don't decide to come into this livitiy for the sake of getting with a brethren or being with a certain group of friends, or just because you think it's a good fashion or fad or what have you. This is a serious thing. It's nothing to play with. It's life-changing. It's mind-altering. Your conscience is uplifted. The things in life that you used to do of Babylon, you don't desire to do anymore. You start living with cleaner hands and a purer heart. You start knowing your place in life. The knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding that you gain from seeking the knowledge of Rastafari, learning that knowledge, absorbing that knowledge, and applying that knowledge to your life, I can give you the best sense of peace, love, and strength that you could ever imagine in your lifetime. But you have to want to change away from the things that you used to do, because we were all brought up and born and raised in the Babylon world. But just through life and through time and through experiences, we come to truth and rights, and we know that everything in the world ain't good. We have to live in the world, but we don't have to be of the world. So I just want to give everybody a word sounding power who may be looking at this video right now. If you come into the livitiy of Rastafari, or this knowledge that you want to learn about Rastafari, make sure this is something that you really want to seek with your heart. This is not a fashion. This is not a fad. This is a serious thing of life. It can change. It can alter. It can save your life, man. So just be strong and stand firm in what you learn and go forward in righteousness. To each and every one on the four corners of the earth, always hail His Majesty. Haile Selassie I, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering of the tribe of Judah, elect of Himself, light of this world, I and I bright and morning star, His Divine Majesty, Haile Selassie
sweet queen.